A few weeks ago, I went to the eye doctor. I've been standing up here looking out at you and you were blurry or distorted. So I was thinking, well, maybe I dropped them, maybe they were scratched, maybe there was some dirt that I couldn't get off. And the optometrist looked at them, held them up to do whatever he did with them to look through them, and said, "This is your old prescription on these glasses." So here's me standing up here thinking it was something wrong with the glasses. Well, it was, but it wasn't what I thought it was. I didn't realize I was looking through obsolete lenses. Now I've got new lenses on, and I'm seeing you in a whole new light. The world is a much clearer place. So here's the thing about glasses. Whether we wear them or not, we all view the world through a prism, one that's created by our own experiences, our own knowledge or lack thereof, who we spend time with, our own values, what we're willing to hear or maybe not hear. And just like those updated lenses can enhance our physical visual sight, a refresh of our own personal preconceptions can enhance our understanding of this complicated world. So I told you I'd reference Morristown, New Jersey, so here it comes. I grew up there. Morristown, New Jersey took great pride in its Revolutionary War history. My high school mascot was the Colonials. We had our own tricorner hats we used to wear. I passed by Washington's headquarters a couple times a week. I lived in an area called Washington Valley. Our American history classroom was the town itself. In religious school even, we celebrated George Washington's, our town's frequent visitor, words of national acceptance to the Jews at Torah Synagogue in Rhode Island. Just to refresh your memory, he said, and this is just a small excerpt of what he said, "May the children of the stock of Abraham," that's us, "who dwell in this land," that's the United States, "continue to merit and enjoy the goodwill of the other inhabitants, while everyone shall sit in safety under his own vine and fig tree, and there shall be none to make him afraid." So that was great until I slogged through Ken Burns' 12-hour anniversary present, 250th anniversary present to the United States called the American Revolution. It's worth the slog. It's eye-opening. I realized that I had been seeing the world through Morristown-colored glasses. And it's not that my view was inadequate, it's just that it was incomplete. So for example, in Morristown, we never learned that the father of American independence, Washington, enslaved exactly 317 human beings. And that after the war, the father of American independence sought to reclaim some of the slaves that had escaped as his lost property. That same heroic general who embodied the idea of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness gave directions to one of his generals, John Sullivan, with regard to the Native Americans, they called them Indians, living in the Ohio Valley. He said that the general was to secure, along with his army, the total destruction and devastation of their settlements and the capture of as many prisoners of every age and sex as possible, and to achieve the utter ruin of their crops. Did I know that Thomas Jefferson, who penned arguably the most enduring words in history, "We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal," owned 607 human beings? There were so many, I didn't know that, moments provided by the historians interviewed in the Ken Burns documentary that I found my own American history narrative gaining clarity, depth, and a lot more nuance. Now, to be sure, my newly refocused glasses didn't diminish my Morristown pride one iota. My American patriotism didn't drop, nor did my admiration of Washington, Jefferson, or even Hamilton after finishing the book that told about his sordid past. But it did remind me that refocusing my lenses of awareness actually benefits me. Not only to see the past differently, but to understand the present with a new perspective And that's where it is really important. Our worldview lenses, the vehicle through which we view the world, can also be understood as our own narratives. What's a narrative? A narrative is the story that we tell about ourselves, or that we tell about the world or aspects of the world, about our religion, about so many things. We have a story we tell. We have a way of understanding those aspects of our lives, framing, viewing, making sense of things. It comes out of our past, comes out of our personal preferences. It's directed by our values. And importantly, and this is something we need to be aware of, it also reflects the limits of our awareness and our knowledge. And here's the thing about narratives. They're very sticky. It's pretty easy to get new glasses. It's really hard to change those stories that we like to tell about things, those narratives. Now, no matter how distorted they might be. But just like we need to change our glasses from time to time, we benefit from rethinking those narratives. It's hard, to be honest, and it's unsettling. But if we can do it, it not only enriches our understanding of the past, as I explained, but importantly, it actually changes the way we understand the present and the future. So our country is entering its 250th year. That's a big deal. And we're discovering now that our democratic institutions and ideals are under incredible threat and tension. And this is more than a war over narratives of the past. It is drawn from conflicting narratives about the present. They're resulting in destructive clashes, vehement and sometimes violent discord, and arguably a frightening level of animosity that is making compromise, which is the hallmark of democracy, almost impossible. But why talk to you here now? Because change starts with us. We're on the cusp of a new year. We make resolutions. And we've got to make a resolution to adjust our vision. And it's something, I have to say, I've been working very hard to do over these past several years, and I can vouch for the fact that it's not easy, because it's forced me to reconsider some of my most cherished narratives. I find that when I'm face to face with someone who wears a completely different set of glasses, I often have to resist my first impulses, which might be to argue. It might be to challenge. It might be to dismiss their ideas, or even sometimes to walk away. And so what I've forced myself to do, sometimes with difficulty, is to listen, to ask questions, and to be willing to refresh my own perceptions. But then I challenge myself even farther. Where might our perspectives overlap? I'm asking myself. Is there common ground? Can I find it? What can I learn from this person's worldview? And is there room for compromise somewhere? I want to add an important caveat, which is really important. Listening to another's narrative doesn't mean that we have to agree with it. In fact, we can disagree vehemently. But if we can approach it, so it's not a just can't we all get along thing. That's shallow. The depth of listening to another's narrative is we have to approach our difference with curiosity, with an openness to saying, what can I learn from this engagement? And then we might find that our worldview, our own worldview, gains greater depth and clarity. So our clergy, we've been studying from a book by our teacher, Rabbi Michael Marmer. He's a scholar, he's a philosopher, he's an author, he's the former dean of Hebrew Union College in Jerusalem. He's an Israeli of South African descent. He wrote a book called Living the Letters, an Alphabet of Emerging Jewish Thought. And he introduces a series of deep concepts, each one corresponding to one letter of the Hebrew alphabet. So his first chapter, after the word aleph, introduces a word that you may not have heard before, aspeclaria. It's Greek, Aramaic, Talmudic speak. The rabbis used it, and it was their way of describing a lens that either shapes, clarifies, or distorts our perception. We look through aspeclaria, said the rabbis. So Dr. Marmer says the following about this idea at the end of this chapter. Every strong cultural grounding, every prism through which reality is perceived necessarily includes barriers and blind spots. He goes on. Too often, however, our Jewish aspectlaria, our lenses, is not only a prism refining vision, but a barrier rendering the other invisible. At a time when particularism is giving way to chauvinism, that lesson should not be forgotten. Now, it bears to mention that he's writing from Israel. He's an Israeli. So what's going on in Israel is going on here. We're mirroring each other. So he continues. A sad result of our polarized times is that we accuse anyone with a perspective different from our own of delusion and deception. Rather than deride anyone who sees with different lenses from ourselves, it behooves us to consider the multiple aspectlariot, that's many lenses, we all employ. So take a minute to think about the glasses that you wear. And really do it. Not right now. Finish listening to me, then you can do it. But over the next several days, really do it. And seek out then a source, either a human or writing, that is slightly different from where you are. If you're on the left, look to the moderate right. If you're on the right, look to the moderate left. Don't engage with the source. The goal is not to knock it down and prove it wrong. The goal is not to make you feel better about how right you are. It's to ask those questions I mentioned earlier. Find common ground. Engage with an openness. Ask questions. Take out the lenses that allow you to refract the world a little differently. You see, Morristown taught me, Ken Burns taught me, my readings about American history have taught me that the most amazing legacy of the American Revolution and the subsequent 250 years is that there has never been absolute unity in this country. And yet we persist now for what's it, a quarter of a millennia. Our American strength has always been our uniquely American diversity. And when the ability to cherish that diversity diminishes, crisis results. Think Civil War. For us to move through these dangerously discordant times, we must reassert our commitment to the foundational American ideal of reasonable dissent and disagreement, of productive cooperation and compromise. And the good news is that millions of Americans agree with me. They are true students, whether they know it or not, of American history. They recognize the importance of this challenge. And where our leaders fail, we must reclaim these timeless and sacred words that appear in our sacred document. Some of the emendations of what I'm going to read to you, this familiar text, are my own. We the people, in order to form a more perfect union, must reestablish justice, must reinsure domestic tranquility in order to promote the general welfare of all and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and, importantly, to our posterity. And so may it be. And thank you to our founders for putting this level of brilliance in our hearts. Ken Ratzon.